It was a stormy morning in Colorado Springs when Nikola Tesla recorded what he later called an echo of the heart. The year was 1899, and the great inventor had rented the old mining laboratory at East Platte and Weber, filling it with coils that sang like thunder. In the journal entries and ledger sheets kept at his bedside, Tesla described experiments with a magnifying transmitter and odd nocturnal harmonics that answered human speech with uncanny mimicry. Among the local records is a stack of telegraph logs and a handful of letters from Mary O'Leary, a 26-year-old telegraph operator from nearby Victor, Colorado. Mary's handwriting is neat and small. Her first letter, dated 3 October 1899, reads like a report and a love note at once. She complained of the weather, then of the way the coils in Tesla's lab seemed to pull at the ribs. Her later notes, smuggled in folded pages to avoid the press, document experiments in which Tesla and she attempted to encode pulse and breath as variations on a carrier wave. Technically, they altered amplitude and phase in a rudimentary form of modulation, using a telegraph key to translate the rhythm of a human pulse into electrical patterns. They called the apparatus privately the resonant empathy coil. Witness statements from a miner, Jonas Parker, described nights when lights in the lab flared, and when, he said, he heard Mrs. O'Leary singing and a man answering in tones like a bell. Telegraph logs show bursts of unreadable code at midnight, complex repeating sequences with a tempo matching a heartbeat. The result was strange and intimate. Mary's reports, some handwritten, some stitched into the margins of Tesla's notebooks, described shared imagery: the taste of lemon, a childhood riverbank in County Cork, the sensation of holding hands. Tesla, usually clinical in his notes, scribbled in one margin, phenomenon, emotional resonance, not merely transmission of data, but of affective state. Word leaked. Journalists from Denver sought interviews. Military engineers wrote terse letters asking for demonstrations. For a brief, fiercely private winter, the lab became a place where two people who had known each other only through wires learned the shape of each other's sorrow and joy across a few hundred feet of copper and air. Then fear set in. The army was interested in relay and interrogation. Clergy worried at the idea of mechanized intimacy. Tesla, protective and stubborn, worried for Mary's safety. In a sealed envelope dated 22 January 1900, he wrote, "When invention reaches the heart, it is no longer merely science." The resonant empathy coil was dismantled. The last entry in Mary's journal, burned at the edges and folded into a small tin box, contains a short ciphered transmission: "If you can hear me later, I will be waiting by the arroyo. M." Tesla left Colorado Springs soon after, and Wardenclyffe came later, but there is no record in public archives that the experiment continued. The story might have ended there if not for a discovery in 2018. Curators at the Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, led by archivist Dr. Ana Jovanovic, cataloging recently acquired crates, found a small wooden case stamped with a Colorado Springs postal mark. Inside were coil fragments, a charred telegraph key, and a bundle of letters tied with a thread. One note, labeled in Tesla's hand to M, 23-1-1900, contained a thin strip of copper etched with a waveform. Modern analysis produced an audio reconstruction. When researchers at the University of Belgrade fed the pattern through contemporary equipment, several in the lab reported the same fleeting sensations Mary described: images, a particular longing, a memory of salt water none could explain. The recordings contained, faint beneath the crackle, a man's voice and a woman's. The words were ordinary, "do not go," but the cadence carried an energy the team could not reduce to mere noise. The museum released the tapes in a restrained statement. They called the documents a newly revealed chapter in Tesla's notebooks, reflecting a private experiment at the intersection of electromagnetism and human intimacy. Scholars have since argued over ethics and interpretation. Were Mary and Nikola collaborators, lovers, subjects in an experiment that blurred consent? The debate itself echoes the old telegrams, technical curiosity colliding with human consequence. What survives is a small human story recorded in coil and ink. Whether the resonant empathy coil was a misunderstood artifact of early radiophysics or the first attempt to carry love on an electrical current, the letters in Belgrade smell faintly of coal and rain. They bear witness that, in a stormy morning in Colorado Springs, two people used the new language of electricity to reach one another and left a quiet, resonant trace that still makes people listen.